The views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect those of the PFC Entertainment Network or any of the affiliates that make this show possible.
This is the Pure Fury Creations Entertainment Network.
And we do welcome you to the Fatal 4-Way live here across the platforms of the PFC Entertainment Network. Now, generally, there would be four of us, but we're going old school in a lot of aspects. So welcome to an impromptu wrestling edition of the Klaus and Q Show. Joining me right now is Hollywood Q, Quadell Edwards. Now, generally, we would be over at the studios of ONTV, and we would be going across their platforms. However, our director over there, Joe, is on a well-deserved, much-needed vacation, and it is the holiday weekend, so we have shifted our focus to our platforms here at the PFC Network. Q, it's great to see you, my friend. We're going to sit here for the next little bit on a Friday night and look at the headlines in and around the world of professional wrestling this weekend. There's a lot going on. This has turned into a big pro wrestling weekend. But before we get to all that, how's things with you, man?
Man, I can't complain, man. Here I am. I love the fact that we got the Klaus and Q Show back in order here. We didn't even announce that, man. And how about that?
No, we're, I'm aware. Anybody that knows what Sean Grugo does in his shoot job understands why trying to get any time off around a major holiday weekend is next to impossible. I could take that on a sidebar just based on what I'll say is the conditions that he's working in. Makes it very, very difficult. We don't know what the hell's going on with Brian Balfe. We reached out to him, sent the link out to him. We haven't heard from him, so I don't know if
sent the smoke signal out. Smoke signal. We got everything out there, man. We on the hunt for him, man. And so he's on the side of a milk carton right now. So if you've seen him, hey, let us know. Shoot him our way. Let them know that we've been looking for him.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like we didn't have this thing planned a couple of weeks ago, but in all sincerity, hey, if this is his time to catch up on some sleep, more power to him. I get it, you get it. We're third shifters. I mean, so sleep is an important.
Third shifters.
Yeah. The last few weeks where we're at has been nothing short of insanity, for the lack of a better term, So I get it. Q, there's a lot to talk about here as we're looking at the headlines in professional wrestling, and I do want to make mention real quick, those who are watching us on the Facebook feed, because we are streaming this on Facebook, our YouTube channel, and of course here with our good friends over at Riverside.fm. But there is that opportunity for the viewers, the listeners, to join us live, either via the live chat on the Facebook feed, or if you go there right now, there is a link. And if you click that link, jump through a couple of hurdles, it will put you in a virtual waiting room, and we can let you onto the show right on the screen live as it happens. We have, like I said, a lot to talk about, but before we get into the wrestling headlines, Q, I want to start off by, for just a moment, if I could, acknowledging what this weekend is all about. You know, to put it back in perspective, a lot of people have 3-day weekends and, you know, that unofficial kickoff to summer and all this other stuff. But it's important that we remember and we recognize why we have Memorial Weekend. And I wanted to take a moment and just express my respect, my gratitude, my appreciation for all the men and women who sacrificed everything so that you and I and everybody under one blue sky gets to enjoy the freedoms that we do. So I just wanted to make mention of that.
Yeah, absolutely. They're not forgotten. You got to remember that, you know, we take this time for granted, and we see these days as just days where we can just hang out with our family, or we can go barbecue or something like that. But we got to remember that, you know, all of that stuff came with a price. So we do remember those who fought a good fight to help us have the freedom that we have today. Yeah,
absolutely. And again, anybody that has a opinion, a question, a comment that you would like to have incorporated into the show, there's 2 ways to do it: live, as we're doing this right now, the live chat on Facebook, or hit that link and you can be a guest live on the air with Q and I. Q, let's start off this week by looking at some of the big events that are going down this weekend. The thing of it is this is going to be an easy transition, because a lot of what we're going to talk about here tonight is these upcoming events, the premium live event schedule for WWE and why it's at a breakneck pace at this point, and the shocking news that came down the wire yesterday with WrestleMania 42. We're going to break all that down, but let's start off. Let's go to Glendale, Arizona, Q, where on Sunday night, All Elite Wrestling is going to be presenting its annual Double or Nothing pay-per-view. Fine tickets are still available at AEWTix.com.
Still available, huh?
Still available. Plenty of seats available. Let's look at this card real quick. This really has turned into be a decent card, and they have added a couple more matches since this this graphic was made. But here are some of the highlights that the AEW faithful are looking forward to. There's going to be the Anarchy in the Arena match. John Moxley's team is going to be taking on Swerve Strickland's team. You know, if you're a diehard AEW fan, if by a lot of accounts this is the main event, however, we have learned that this is not going to be the match that closes out the pay-per-view. We'll get to that here in a little bit. Also on the card, AEW Tag Team Championship will be on the line, with Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin will defend against Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara. The AEW women's title will be on the line when Toni Storm will defend against Mina. A stretcher match between Mark Briscoe and Ricochet. You kind of know what to expect with this kind of match, Q. These two have well-established reputations. We know what they can do, the death-defying, high-flying bullshit, and it's appropriate. It's going to be in a stretcher match. And then we will see the finals of the Owen Hart Memorial Tournament for both men and women. Mercedes Moné will be taking on Jamie Hayter in the women's final. And in the men's final, this is actually what is been reported to close the pay-per-view queue. Will Ospreay versus Hangman Adam Page. Okada will be defending the Continental Championship. That has been added to the show as well. Anything that stands out to you in terms of, wow, that even as you may not be a diehard AEW fan, but was there any matches on that card where you're like, I would be interested in watching that?
Well, we know the match that sticks out really is the Ospreay match with Hangman. Everyone, even I'm pretty much interested in them too. I do like the chemistry that they have in the. And it looks pretty good on paper, and I know they're going to deliver. I believe they're going to deliver as far as a match. But the match that I'm actually keeping my eye on is actually the AEW Tag Team Championship. Lashley, and to me, one of the most underrated wrestlers of all time, Shelton Benjamin, one of my favorites. And seeing on the other side with Sammy Guevara for one, but seeing Dustin Rhodes on the other side, man, I'm impressed to see what he still can do at the advanced age that he is at in his career. He's been there. He's been a player for them, and he's really been maybe not in the main scene, but when he steps in, he really steps in. But, seeing it's a veteran match with Sammy Guevara. And I think it's pretty good. Oh, look who pops in. Hey, look at that.
Joining is Sean Grugel. Pleasantly surprised, too, by the way. I don't mind telling you. Good to see you, Sean.
How you guys doing?
Good, man. We're looking at the AEW Double or Nothing pay-per-view card, or the marquee matches on their pay-per-view that's scheduled for this Sunday in Glendale, Arizona. Have you been keeping tabs on what's happening with this card on Sunday?
Well, AEW has cured my narcolepsy. It doesn't enable me to stay. What happened here?
No, I just pulled up the graphic.
Gotcha. Will Ospreay and Hangman Adam Page. Okay, so Will Ospreay there. Mercedes Moné, Jamie Hayter, Mercedes Moné. Toni Storm over Mina Sharapova. Ricochet definitely over Briscoe. AEW Tag Team Championships, I think it's going to go with Dustin and Sammy. And Moxley's team, well, apparently Moxley's unstoppable, so Moxley will be around forever. So they're going over.
He's on his John Cena run.
What's that?
He's on his Super Cena run right now.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Moxley at all. I can't stand anything he does. Best thing they got going for him right now in AEW, as far as I'm concerned, and Jason's not going to like hearing this, but it's Ricochet.
Oh my goodness!
Oh wow!
I
didn't see that coming.
Between Ricochet and Toni Storm, I think those are the two best storylines, best characters they got going for them right now.
Hey, character-wise, I'll give it to you with Toni Storm. The way that she has really seized that opportunity and really made it her own. That's one of the few talents that has went over to AEW from WWE and actually done better for themselves. And I'm very happy for her for that. I wish they had done more with her in WWE, but she has now become the big fish in the small pond. Like, that's how far she has elevated herself, in my view. Sean, generally when you see that card, Moxley's team versus Team Strickland would generally be perceived as your main event, but we've learned that the Owen Hart tournament final between Ospreay and Hangman Page is actually what's going to close the pay-per-view. Thoughts?
Despite my other opinions, Will Ospreay is really starting to grow on me. I'm not a Hangman Adam Page fan at all. He flips heel face more than the Big Show in the early 90s. Adam Page is just, he's too watered down for me. I think they took the belt off him too early, and I think it really put him in a lull. He hasn't been able to achieve that level of success that he had back here 2 years ago. Will Ospreay, I think he's going to be AEW for life. I don't think there's anything in the world that Triple H can do to change his mind. And AEW, he's going to be one of the figureheads. So, but as far as Team Mox versus Team Swerve, honestly, and maybe you guys can fill me in on this, I don't see anything in either one of those two. Swerve Strickland, I thought that at one point in time he had the brightest future of anyone in AEW, but I feel like his talent is being wasted. And when you talk about Jon Moxley, since he doesn't bleed anymore, he's just boring.
I have never gotten into Moxley, even when he was Dean Ambrose. There is nothing about this guy that stands out on a poster or you see him in real life. Unless you really watch wrestling, you wouldn't know he was a wrestler. He's just there. And I'm not taking anything away from his contributions, because there's going to be those people that are going to jump my ass. Well, he bled buckets for this business and for your entertainment, not my entertainment, because I'm not entertained. Who is he entertaining? A niche audience. And that's why he's never going to be on the same level as a Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. Sorry to keep using that comparison, but you can't help it. They broke in on the main level with each other. Look where they're at. Look where he's at. It is what it is. Cute. Any other thoughts about this pay-per-view for AEW before we move on to the next big event this weekend?
Yeah, real quick. The only match that really holds any interest for me is going to be Hurt Business versus whoever they're wrestling. I know you pulled it up. I don't even care who they're wrestling, because MJF's going to screw it up. But I'm looking for Cedric Alexander to make a return to the Hurt Business and take out MJF. That's the only thing that kind of piques my interest, to see if the Hurt Business reunites on this pay-per-view.
They will be defending the tag team championship against Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara. So, which Q, you started talking, and listen, this is not going to be your regular fatal four-way. Okay, we're not under time restraints and ratings either, so just keep that in mind. It's Friday night, and my coffee is fully loaded. I don't mind telling you.
All right, so I can say the R word without saying the R. Oh man, retarded. Oh yeah, we got this. Let's go. Post it.
Dustin Rhodes is the fact that he is and we started talking about it a little bit. At his age, at where he's at in his career, the fact that he is still relevant. I mean, he's going to be a challenger in a world championship match on pay-per-view. And now you can look at this one of two ways. You can look at it like, wow, this guy has really withstood the test of time and has taken care of himself. And this is where he's at. Or you can look at it as, if he was still under the employ of WWE, you wouldn't be seeing Goldust challenging for anything on a Monday Night Raw or a SmackDown or anything like that. But the fact that he is still in the shape that he's in really is a testament to him, right? I mean, he's been around a long time. I think my biggest issue with him is he is trying to scrub that part of history of his career as Goldust. And my argument to that would be, if there wasn't Goldust, you wouldn't be where you are right now. Q, what's your takeaway on this?
Oh, he can't scrub the Goldust character. If you see him on AEW, he's still wearing the Goldust costume, but it's just a different color. So he didn't even change his image. Maybe he's not sucking his lips or blowing kisses at people, but when you see him, you cannot mistake that. Oh, he's Gold. That's Goldust from the '90s. You know who that is, and he's in great shape. I'm glad that he's he got himself cleaned up, because I know he was going through some addiction problems and all that stuff. So I'm glad he got himself better, and he's still doing what he loves to do. And but he's gonna always be Goldust. He's gonna be Goldust before he is Dustin Rhodes.
Oh, I would agree with that. Sean, what's your opinion?
I could give two squirts about Dustin. He needs to go drink some sanitizer or something. Not a fan. I think they're really doing a disservice to Sammy Guevara by teaming him with Dustin. I don't know if you saw the last promo they did for AEW. Sammy was just out there as kind of like a background dancer, like a fly girl. Dustin's out there cutting a promo. Sammy's, yeah, not saying a damn word. And they end the promo, and Sammy didn't say nothing. It was all Dustin the entire time. I think this is his last run. I'm thinking they're giving him as much as he can handle, and hopefully by the end of the year, I won't have to see his stupid face anymore.
So tell me how you really feel.
I was a fan of the Goldust character. I mean, let's face it, it was controversial, it was cutting edge, and it was different. What he's doing now, in my opinion, he's still kind of riding off the coattails of Cody. I was one of the day one guys. Yeah, because of your brother. Go ahead and thank him now.
Hey, Joe, are you still here?
Oh. No, hey, I can see that too. And especially seeing Cody rise to what he has become, and that's got to fuck with him a little bit. You've got to believe. I would think it does a little bit, but going to be interesting to see. I am totally on board with a full-blown reunion of the Hurt Business, Hurt Syndicate, as they would be known in AEW. We also, speaking of AEW, we early last week or late week before, Jim Ross come out and announced that he had colon cancer and was going to have to undergo surgery. And we're hoping that they have caught this thing in time. He's going to be able to rebound. This is the second bout of a type of cancer that he's had to deal with. So we wanted to send our thoughts and prayers to Jim Ross, the absolute greatest announcer in professional wrestling history. No disrespect to Gordon Solis or Bob Cottles or anybody like that. But when you're talking about wrestling announcers, if Jim Ross is not at number one on your list, you need to go do your goddamn homework, because you will never hear a better narrator for professional wrestling as Jim Ross. So we just wanted to send that out before we make our transition over to WWE. So, good old JR, man. The guy is tough as a $2 steak. All right. Let's shift gears. Tomorrow night, live on NBC and Peacock, will be the next installment of Saturday night's main event. A couple of interesting things about the card that they have put together for tomorrow night. It is going to emanate from Tampa, and it's going to be, this feels like an actual Saturday night's main event. There's a couple of things that I would tweak about it, but by and large, when you think of the old school main event cards, you're like, oh yeah, this is what made Saturday night's main event special. They really did do, from my estimation, and I'll explain why as we go along here, they really put the matches on here that weren't necessarily big enough for a premium live event headliner, but it was more than your Monday Night Raw or Friday Night SmackDown. So it gives this show its own unique vibe. And we can start off by talking about this confrontation between WWE champion John Cena and R-Truth. Now, you can make the argument that this can be a PLE main event, whether it be Money in the Bank or something along these lines. There's enough organic backstory on this match, the conflict between these two. You didn't even have to go the route of Cena putting Truth through a table at the press conference, which was kind of cheesy to me, but I understood why they did it. So they're going to go one-on-one here tomorrow night on NBC, but the WWE Championship is not on the line. That is the one thing I would tweak just a little bit. I would put the title on the line. No, Sean?
No, and I'll tell you why, because this is going to be the return of Cody Rhodes. Cody's going to attack Cena. He's going to save R-Truth from another beatdown. Cena's going to win by DQ, and that is my exit cue.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time, brother. I know you're busy, but thank you so much.
Yep, we'll talk to you later, Q. It's good seeing you as always.
All right, man. Be easy, man.
I'll see you guys later.
All right, brother. Sean Grugo joining us here live on the Fatal 4-Way. As we are live streaming this across not our normal digs over in Lake Orion with our friends at ON TV, but we're doing this across our platform. So back to it here, Cena and R-Truth. Sean brings up a good point. You don't necessarily need the title on the line. I just feel like with this being Saturday night's main event, it's an extraordinary show. It doesn't happen every week. It's a once a quarter thing for the most part. I feel like R-Truth has earned the opportunity to compete for the WWE Championship. You can fuck it up any way you want. You want to bring Cody Rhodes out. You want to bring this guy out. You want to bring Travis Scott out. Whatever. But to put R-Truth's name in the challenger slot of a WWE title match, I just felt like he earned that right. But we're going to get this match on the main event. What's your take?
For me, this is a tricky one, and I see what you're saying about having the title on the line. The only thing about that, if the title were to be on the line, it would make that match possibly 100% predictable that John Cena was going to win. Now, I don't see R-Truth scissor kicking Cena into oblivion and pinning him, but we now have possible a 3% chance that maybe R-Truth can somehow get a screwy win over John Cena because the title is not on the line. Now, the whole thing with Cody Rhodes coming out, and I know they're going to run that back with John Cena, but I don't want to see it ran back now. So Cody Rhodes coming back and possibly setting up for, I don't know, what, SummerSlam or something, but I don't think it's, I think it's too early for him to come back, but I think they just might end up doing it. But it's going to be something screwy. It's not going to be a straight up one-on-one. I definitely don't want to see Travis Scott. Oh my God, please no. But there's a chance that we can see him too, because I know they're setting up something for him. He's been training, and eventually we're going to get that tag team match with John Cena and Travis Scott being tag team partners. Woof. I mean, all kind of stuff can happen tomorrow, man. I really don't know. This one is a little bit more unpredictable because of all the screwy stuff that can happen.
And I think that's the reason why this match was added to the card. It is for that unpredictability, and that does make sense now that you said that out loud, because with the title on the line, you knew damn well this match was going to go probably this way, especially when John Cena is on the roll that he's on right now. It's, you know, he's on that razor's edge of chicken shit heel, but not going full blown into it. Like he's playing, you know, the woe is me, and you know, you this, that, and the other thing. But when it comes down to it, he's going to find a way to win. Given this being a non-title match, and as popular as R-Truth is, bro, what kind of pop would take place if R-Truth was to pin him with a schoolboy or something like that? You know, a roll up from behind, small package, something like that. So that man, you could do a number of things there. Travis Scott, though, as a sidebar, I'm waiting for him to get his receipt, because you know it's coming.
Gotta get it. And I want it to be one of those long receipts. I'm talking about you've been shopping for 6 hours receipt. That receipt need to be so long it need to be on the floor. You gotta give it to him, man. I don't even care if it comes from Cody Rhodes or anybody else. The fact that what Travis Scott did spoke volume to where people was coming to Cody Rhodes' aid on social media. So, I mean, you got a lot of people that want to give it to him. So,
I was one of them. How many weeks have I sat on our airwaves, Q, and condemned Cody Rhodes? You know, I'm not taking anything away from his ability in the ring. He's a good worker. I just didn't believe he needed to be in the spot that he was in. But when all that shit went on at the Elimination Chamber, and Travis Scott bitch punched him like that, I said it right there that night. I'm like, man, I would have loved nothing more than Cody to pop up and just blast him as hard as he fucking could, right in his grill, man, because he's got it coming, and it pissed off a lot of other WWE talent, and that's not what you want to do. You can only protect him for so long, because somebody is going to run into him, and they're not going to give a crap what happens. If he hasn't gotten his receipt by then, he will on that day. Can you imagine somebody like a Braun Breaker, somebody on that level, or you can go even real old school. Some of these agents that are backstage, they look at that as a sign of disrespect, bro, and that's not something they take too kindly in the world of professional wrestling. You don't have to be a worker or be in the integral part of the business to understand that. That's what makes this business so unique. Yeah, I'm waiting for that day. 100%.
Oh yeah, and think about who's Cody Rhodes' friend. Cody Rhodes is personal friends with Arn Anderson. Oh yeah, let Arn get a hand on Travis Scott.
Arn don't play. Arn does not get shit.
But you know what? That whole thing with Travis Scott, it's almost like it was a package. It's almost like a package problem, with the whole John Cena run. The fact that Travis Scott had something to do with the main event of WrestleMania and such an iconic moment of John Cena winning number 17. And then you got this whole situation with The Rock.
Event and opinions expressed on this show are those
just pretty much poofed and disappeared, So, and John Cena, if you ask me, he pretty much became that the rebound heel. He had to pretty much fix everything all by himself. Travis Scott, he got his lick in and he left. You didn't see him anymore. The Rock, he had his moment and then he disappeared. Now John Cena have to carry the entire load as a heel. Who gets the receipt if the people that you really want to get the receipt on is not there? So I don't know. That's why I believe that something screwy is going to happen with this match tomorrow. I don't know if I already know The Rock ain't showing up. I to be honest, I don't believe The Rock is going to show up for the next year. I don't expect him for a long time. I don't even expect him to make an appearance for next WrestleMania.
We're going to talk about next WrestleMania later on in this program, and probably The Rock is going to get involved in that conversation too. So stay tuned for later on here in the broadcast. Moving on with the card for Saturday night's main event, what I call one of the real reasons why you have a stipulation match is to end a feud, and that's what we're going to get hopefully tomorrow night on Saturday night's main event. It is going to be a steel cage match, 15-foot high, solid steel cage match, Q, between Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre. This has been one of the better feuds in WWE. It toyed with having a championship at stake, but once they really got into the meat of the program, the world title was no longer a thing. Like, it was the ultimate prize, like it's supposed to be for everybody on the roster. And these two have laid claim very recently, within the last year, of the World Heavyweight Championship. So on paper, this made sense. I thought that when they had their Sin City street fight at WrestleMania 41, that this was going to be the end of it, but they kept it going. Incorporated it into a four-way struggle for the WWE United States Championship as recently as Backlash. That also included champion Jacob Fatu and LA Knight. Yeah. And but this appears to be the big blow-off. This is going to be the final match of this rivalry. Both men really could use the win here. I think Drew, just because I've always been on this guy's bandwagon, I feel like you could do more with him emerging as the winner to put him back into at least title contention, even though you have a heel champion in John Cena. But a Cena-McIntyre match on paper is much more appealing to me than a Cena-Damian Priest match. Damian Priest is a good talent, in my view. He has a good look, but he's just not strong enough on his own, in my view. I feel like either put him back in Judgment Day, turn him heel, put him back in Judgment Day, completely shake up that entire faction, or put him in a tag team with a Penta or a Ray Phoenix or somebody that's going to mesh well with him. This is going to be a decent match. How do you see this one going, Q?
First off, with this being Saturday night's main event, wouldn't it be sweet to see the old school blue bar cage? If there was any time to bring that out, this would be the time to bring that out. Old school. I mean,
Big Blue.
Let's not be all. Yeah, let's bring out Big Blue. Let's not be all soft and talk about the bars are too hard or any. Let's bring out the blue bars. Let's go old school. As far as the match, this is a tough one because Drew is more of a made man. And you would hate to see someone like Priest get defeated twice, by Drew back to back, and then also lose the Fatal 4-Way match, even though he wasn't pinned. This for Damian Priest, if he loses this match, where does he go? That's the question. I believe even if Drew loses, Drew is one of the best rebounders in the company right now. Just by his character, just by what he does on social media, he can come out and just attack John Cena and earn himself a title match that way. But this one is a tough one for me, and I love it because it makes it more unpredictable. I'm gonna lean towards a win for Priest by escaping the cage more so than him actually pinning McIntyre. I don't think no one needs to get involved. We don't need to see interference. One thing that Triple H has been doing a lot is he's been doing a lot of interferences in a lot of his matches, and I think this is one match that don't need that. So I will let Priest win by escaping the cage, and
that is the whole premise of a cage match. Eliminate the process of outside interference. Let these two have their match. Let them beat the piss out of each other, end this rivalry so they can move on with their careers. You make some good points here. There's two things that I would say. As far as Big Blue being too heavy, and that was the big complaint with that cage, because the walls were individual and it took a small army to assemble that cage, and every bit of 25 minutes to a half an hour to assemble that cage. Nowadays, I feel like with the technology and the tools at their disposal, they can find a way to pre-assemble that big bitch and just lower it down and attach it to the ring. They go with the red, white, and blue bolts. They go with the classic logo. They go with, that old school mentality feel to it. Why not bring back Big Blue? I think that would be phenomenal if they did
why
that.
Not?
And two, how many rebounds does Drew McIntyre have left in him before people start just turning away from him? I'm not going to, because I really want this guy to be somebody. But I want more than anything. I have said this until I'm blue in the face, and I will continue to. I want Drew McIntyre to have a substantial world title run in front of a live audience, not in front of an empty performance center and not in front of a bunch of video screens that they had in the Thunderdome during the pandemic. This guy deserves this. This is what I want for him. you can only keep knocking him down so much until people are just like, okay, he's just never going to elevate back up to main event status. And if he does, they're going to look at him like I look at Damian Priest. Okay, it's cool, but he doesn't fit here. One of these is not like the other. You know what I mean? Like, he's not going to be a main event. At best, he'll be Intercontinental or U.S. champion, which, take nothing away from those titles, but it's not the World Heavyweight Championship, and it sure as shit is not the WWE Championship. So, I'm looking at it from that perspective.
I think one thing about Drew, I don't know if they ever announced the draft, but with Drew being on the same brand as John Cena, who has that title on lock, I mean, Cena's not letting that title go no time soon, and I don't see Drew being another heel taking it off of him. Is he lost right now? Do we need a trade? Do we need to go back to Raw and possibly maybe bring Gunther over to SmackDown? Give him a fresh coat of paint over there, or something is. He just seems kind of lost, not being able to capture the title, because that's going to be what really solidify him.
Yeah, that's a good point. Very good point. They had made mention that the draft was originally going to be at the end of April. Then they came out and postponed it. And while it is on the schedule for bigger events, of course, that will take place during the course of a Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown. They haven't released the new date yet, so it makes you wonder what they are doing with the draft. And we'll focus more on that when the date is announced, and we will obviously preview that, break that down, why it can work and why it hasn't worked. So stay tuned for a future episode of the Fatal 4-Way. Let's look at this blockbuster tag team match that they have scheduled for tomorrow night. A lot of talent, a lot of story in this match, and a lot of potential when you're talking about storylines, when you talk about star power. Seth freaking Rollins and Braun Breaker will be taking on the team of CM Punk and Sami Zayn. I'm okay with 3/4 of this match, Q, and I'll let you guess as to what quarter I'm not okay with. I get it, storyline wise. I don't like it. I don't like Sami Zayn. I'm not a fan of his. It pisses me off that he is CM Punk's partner in this tag match, when I feel like you could have gone a number of different ways here. But I'm really digging the setting of the foundation for what they're doing with Rollins, Braun Breaker, and Paul Heyman. This is a must-win for that team. And unfortunately, it's going to come at the expense of CM Punk. I'm hoping Sami Zayn is the one that eats the pin. Maybe that's why he is in this match, to be that guy. So, you can still protect Punk to some regard. I'm really digging this, though, and I really feel like with the right writing and the right people, we could be on the verge of the next true dominant group in professional wrestling. I haven't felt this about a potential group in some time. And I'm sorry, the Judgment Day is not it, if I can be honest with you. Probably the Bloodline would be the most recent example of a dominant faction, and this has the potential to do for Monday Night Raw what the Bloodline did for SmackDown.
I agree. we're going to see this match more than once, but with one change. This is going to be a PLE match with Sami Zayn is going to get replaced with Roman Reigns down the line, and we're going to see that tag team match down the line. So Sami Zayn is kind of like the placeholder here. So I think this is going to be a safe match. I don't expect any surprises. You know, people are talking about, will Sami turn or anything like that? I don't even think it makes sense for him to turn. You know, he's already turned down the offer to go to SmackDown and get a free title shot against John Cena. So why turn now? It don't even make sense. So I can see Sami either taking the pin. Who knows? Punk might take the pin. But it's definitely going to be a win for the new group as they pretty much show their dominance on Monday Night Raw until we see Roman Reigns make his return, and you can set that up for a bigger event.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. This match needed Roman Reigns. I mean, I understand you don't want to do too much at one time. And that's what frustrated me about when we were on the road to WrestleMania and you started hearing everybody chatter, well, why are they doing this? They should be doing that. Why are they doing this? Number one, shut the fuck up. Okay? You just be a fan. You're not in the writer's room.
Enjoy the ride, man. Enjoy the ride.
Exercise a little thing we call patience. Let the story ride. Get emotionally invested in the character, not just that 15-second holy shit moment. Because when you go back and look at your fandom 10, 15, 20 years down the line, what are you going to remember? That 15-second holy shit moment or the story that surrounded it? The characters that were a part of it. That's what you're going to remember. Now, we will remember Mankind getting flown off Hell in a Cell. We will remember Jeff Hardy spearing Edge off the top of a ladder at WrestleMania 17. We will remember moments in time. But if we weren't emotionally invested in those characters because of the stories that they told, them spots, as spectacular as they are, wouldn't mean jack shit. Calm down and watch the story. That's all you got to, like, just relax a bit. It is so infuriating to go on public forums like Twitter and see people that identify themselves as wrestling fans conduct themselves in the way that they do. It makes other wrestling fans look unintelligent, like we don't know what we're talking about, and we're like some subpar member of society. And I don't appreciate that. You know what I'm saying?
We're not like that. We're not crybabies, you know. It's we're not stupid, you know, or impatient and all this other stuff. We don't just complain about everything. It's long-term storytelling. This story here is going to be Raw's, Monday Night Raw's long-term storytelling. If you can look and see what they're actually setting up, this is more about Seth Rollins versus Braun Breaker down the line. Like, already you can see the writing on the wall. Seth Rollins eventually is getting that title from Jey Uso. Oh, he's getting that title from Jey. He has to. That's what's going to solidify the group. Seth Rollins getting that title. When? I don't know. Maybe SummerSlam or something like that. But then you're setting up for, you know, the Braun Breaker Batista moment, pretty much.
I was just going to say
Long-term
that. Yeah.
That's all it is.
We are looking at the next version of Triple H and Batista. That's what's happening. So the next WrestleMania will be 42. WrestleMania 43 will be Rollins versus Breakker for the World Heavyweight Championship, and this is where we're going to see Braun Breaker become the next big main event star. I feel like they give him a year and a half to really get established, because there's some tweaks that we can do with Braun Breaker to really complete his package, specifically with his promos. I need his promos to be a little bit more believable. I don't need to be screamed at for 5 minutes. Talk like a normal human. I know it's classic.
You don't need to be Steiner.
Do more what your dad did and less what your uncle did. Just you don't have to have every vein in your neck on the verge of explosion as you're cutting a promo. Get humanized a little bit. Still be that unpredictable badass. But holy hell, man, bring it down a notch,
And I think he's just getting comfortable on the mic too, because if you catch him, when he was still in NXT, I mean, his promos were still kind of like off the rails. But if you listen to some of his out of character interviews, dude was like a deer in the headlights, man. He seemed very timid and very nervous when he gives regular interviews. He's a lot better now, and he's grown a lot. He's grown a lot. He's grown faster than I actually thought he would. But yeah, he does a lot of screaming now. I feel like his intensity that he shows now is to cover up his old timidness and his old him being nervous in front of the camera and everything like that. If you scream, I kind of see it as myself. Now, myself, I always been scared to ride roller coasters. So what I would do is I would put my hands up when I'm going up the hill and just scream going down the hill, and I was fine. I was fine. So I feel like he's having one of those moments where, like, if I just raise my voice and make myself sound like Scott, then I'm going to be just fine. I think that's where he's at.
Makes sense. Makes total sense. Sidebar, I commend you for attacking your fear like that. I don't like roller coasters. I've been on enough of them. Like I can say, yeah, I was on that and I did that when that was a thing. I'm good now. I'm not doing it. I have no interest in it. So yeah, there's that. All right, that's going to bring us to our, what I would assume is going to be our main event for Saturday night's main event. And again, it starts at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the networks of NBC and streaming live on Peacock. The World Heavyweight Championship will be on the line when main event Jey Uso will defend the title against Logan Paul. This will be Logan Paul's second chance at a world title. His last coming when he challenged Roman Reigns for the undisputed title a couple of years ago in Saudi Arabia. I believe that was a crown jewel event. And now here we are. He's going to be in Tampa, Florida. He's had a handful of matches after that very impressive showing with Roman. Now it's Jey Uso. And the jury is still out on Jey Uso as a world champion, Q. I have my opinions of it. I see opposing points of view on Jey Uso as world champion. Logan Paul is pretty universally hated, so he's doing a fantastic job being the character, the role that he is been asked to, but I mean, I guess it comes naturally when you're naturally an asshole. With that being said, it's, it's going to be Uso and Logan Paul. Statistically, the A world title has not changed hands on a main event broadcast on NBC since Andre took the title from Hogan in '88. Do we see the crowning of a new world champion here tomorrow night on Saturday night's main event? Is Logan Paul finally going to achieve what for many wrestling fans would be the ultimate nightmare if he was one of the faces of WWE?
No, it's not going to happen. This one is more predictable than pretty much all the other matches. This one, there's not going to be a title change. They're not going to take it off of Jay until somebody like Seth get to him, or I don't know. He got Gunther on Monday Night Raw. I like what they did by having Gunther confront Logan Paul to make it look like it was a possibility.
Yeah, I did.
This to me, now I know this is not gonna. I'm gonna tell you what's not gonna happen first. That I would love to see happen. Now, if anybody been following, social media and everything that's been going on with our good guy Karrion Kross, he cut a passionate promo. I can't remember what show he was on, but he cut a passionate promo, and pretty much the headline of that promo was him going off on how these outsiders were coming in and taking over and getting all these opportunities, and he's barely getting on TV. He can't get on WrestleMania, but Logan Paul is on there, and he tried to help AJ Styles against Logan Paul. There seems to be some type of unfinished business with Karrion Kross and Logan Paul. And that's something that WWE hasn't really touched. It seems like Karrion Kross is creating his own storylines. Maybe that's why we're not seeing it, come to fruition on screen. But I think that's something that you need to tap into, because right now Karrion Kross is a hot ticket. He's a hot thing right now. The crowd has been chanting his name on main event, the regular main event.
Mm-hmm.
They've been chanting his name on that show. They've been all crying out for his merchandise to be sold in the arena, and they put it in there. His stuff has been selling out. I mean, when do you insert this guy into some type of program, and Logan Paul will be the perfect person to insert him with? Now, I'm not saying he has to go out there and interfere. I know I kind of went off a little bit. We're talking about the match here. I'm not saying that, Karrion Kross needs to interfere in the Jey Uso match, but I would like to see some sort of backstage element. Maybe he's whispering in Jey Uso's ear, to make sure you have that mean streak to defeat this guy, because he's not one of us. Something like that. And then you could set something up with Kross and Paul. But at the end of the day, Jey Uso is getting his win. It's not Logan Paul's time yet. And I do see in the future, this man is going to capture a world title. He is going to capture a world title because of, you see how the crowds react to Logan Paul. That's the type of heat you want your heel to have. That man would benefit, but he would benefit from a little bit of Paul Heyman's favor. Now, he would be a perfect third guy. He would be a perfect third guy. And he even said on one of those countdown shows that if Paul Heyman were to approach him, he would accept in a heartbeat. I don't know. Maybe is that foreshadowing something, or am I reading into it a little too much? I think a lot. I sometimes I think a little bit too hard. But at the end of the day, Jey Uso gets the W.
I could see Logan Paul joining Heyman's camp. My only issue with that is we just sat here and said we could totally see this becoming the next, with Rollins and Breaker, the next Triple H and Batista situation. And Logan Paul is such a strong personality on his own. It would almost be too much for that group. When you have a strong personality like Seth Rollins and then Logan Paul, they would have amazing matches. But if you're going to focus on them, then you're putting Braun Breaker in the background, because he doesn't have that over the top boisterous personality that Rollins and Logan Paul has. You feel me? So I feel like going that route with it might be too much. But I could totally see Logan Paul as world champion. I could see Logan Paul with that title being the updated version of a Nick Bockwinkel, who was just over the top, flamboyant, classy, this, that, the other thing. And as good of a talker as he was, he still had Bobby the Brain Heenan. You give Logan Paul, and I'm not saying a Paul Heyman, but if you find him a manager that would be reminiscent of the kind of manager that Bobby Heenan was, you have something very special there, and it will stand out, because managers aren't really incorporated in this day and age, which is a damn shame. MVP really has the potential to become the next great manager in all of wrestling. He really does, because he has the in-ring experience that Bobby Heenan had, that Mr. Fuji had, that Johnny Valiant had, that all these marquee managers had. They were wrestlers. Classy Freddie Blassie. We need that in this product, because you have a guy, and let's put Logan Paul off to the side, but you take a guy who is incredibly, talented in the ring, but can't cut a promo to save his life. And that's the one thing that has held them back. But you put him with a good mouthpiece, man, there's no telling how far that they could go. I really wish that they would incorporate that. Back to this match. Now's not the time for Jey Uso to lose the title, and I think he's doing a phenomenal job as world champion. Every goddamn week on Raw that he comes out, the crowd is demanding that he restarts his music, so that they have that celebration. You don't see that with everybody else. He's doing fine. Give him an opportunity.
One thing I want to say about Jey Uso, there's one thing that I wish they would get away from, is him playing the underdog. Every week, they're like, "Oh, they said I don't deserve it. They said I couldn't do it. They said I couldn't beat Gunther." You did it. You're
Right.
the champ now. You're on top of the mountain now. You have to be that guy that's on. You're not the underdog anymore. You're not the underdog. I'll say just be the man on top. Be the man on top. Yeet.
For what? I'm sorry about this. This popped up. I heard what you said, Q, but this thing popped up on the chat, and I'm not happy about it. Let me see if I can. Huh.
You got somebody in there?
No, it's one of these stupid bot gimmicks. But it popped up on the live chat, and like, I don't want that bullshit on here. If I could be 100% honest, you know what I mean? It's like, come on, what are we doing?
I'm with you there. Yeah, I'm with you there.
So stupid.
Stupid bot.
Anyway, yeah, Jay. I mean, his merchandise is selling. He's having good matches. He has earned this spot, and you look back at starting the last couple of weeks, you look at his TV schedule. He wrestled Braun Breaker on Monday. He's got this title match tomorrow on Saturday night's main event. And then, assuming he wins or emerges from that match with the world title, in 2 weeks' time, he's going to Phoenix to face Gunther. So these are not easy assignments. You know what I mean? You're talking about the absolute best that WWE has to offer, which is going to lead me to this. WWE is on a crazy schedule right now. Absolutely crazy. They have Raw every Monday, NXT on Tuesday. They have SmackDown on Friday. Then they're taping during those shows more content for their YouTube channel, for other projects. But when we sit here and really look at their premium live event or special event, you look at this, and the next handful of weeks here, they're truly globetrotting, and they are doing some pretty amazing things in terms of what kind of events that are on the horizon. This weekend they're in Tampa, and I realize that the dates are wrong on here under Saturday night's main event and Battleground. My bad. But this weekend, Saturday is Saturday night's main event. Sunday will be the WWE or NXT Battleground Premium Live event. June 7th is going to be very interesting. 2 premium live events in 2 locations, but in one city. This AAA Worlds Collide. You're going to see talent from AAA, WWE, NXT, and TNA. This is going to be a very unique pay-per-view or premium live event. And then later that night, they're going to be on the other side of Los Angeles for Money in the Bank. And this has become a very anticipated pay-per-view. Not quite the Royal Rumble status, but man, the implications for those who win the briefcase, very much reminiscent of the Royal Rumble. And then a couple of weeks after Money in the Bank, they will be in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia for Night of Champions. And then the all-women's Evolution Premium Live event will be July 5th at the Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. So, man, they are really all over the place here, Q.
They're pumping them out, man. They're pumping them out like crazy, man. The one thing that really catches my interest is that Worlds Collide. If anybody has been following AAA, which it might not be too many of you out there, but this is what interests me right here. Do you know who the AAA World Champion is?
It's not Alberto Del Rio still, is it?
Yes, it is.
I'll be damned.
Yes, it is.
Well, he just signed. He just re-signed with WWE.
So, I you know what? You never say never. You never say never when it comes to some of these talents that you think that you may never see under a WWE umbrella again, because here we go. But I'm going to say this. There's an event taking place, AAA. There's a AAA event taking place right before the Worlds Collide. I want to say it's the week prior. and it's going to be a world championship match, and and it's gonna have Alberto Del Rio defending his title against Vikingo.
Really?
So I can tell you who the winner of that match is going to be. If you watch the WrestleMania press conference when they announced the AAA deal, and you had, they trotted out all of the Latino talent they could find under contract, had them all around the little table when Triple H was making the announcement. Who was standing behind Triple H? Vikingo. So, foreshadowing.
Boy, you and your foreshadowing here. Well, that's going to bring us to this other piece of business that had me very interested, just because of, my fandom goes beyond just being a fan. I spent a long time in the business as a performer and as a promoter. So this piece of business, this headline really took me off guard yesterday when I saw this. Oops, wrong one. WrestleMania 42, which was scheduled to take place. They made a big announcement, Q. The Rock had come out and made this big announcement that New Orleans was going to get WrestleMania again for the third time. The Superdome was going to be hosting this thing. I told you, we had already started making our plans for New Orleans, my girl and I, because we had a really good time in Las Vegas this year. And so when they said that they were going to be in Nolans, there was some personal ties with that as well. But I was like, yeah, hell yeah, I'm there. Then the news comes out that WrestleMania is being pulled from New Orleans. As the last I checked, there wasn't really a formal reasoning given for why they did this. I had seen speculation that it was going to cause some degree of conflict with a event scheduled for UFC. I don't know how feasible that is, but then you start doing the speculation. Okay, if it's not going to be in New Orleans, where will WrestleMania 42 be held? I have seen and read speculation in Saudi Arabia, which, please, dear God, do not ever put WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia. You've got the Royal Rumble, okay? You've had King of the Ring. You don't need WrestleMania. Keep that. Leave that one alone, okay? I have heard Wembley Stadium in London, England. But the thing that I have heard most about, I have read most about, is a return to Las Vegas after a hugely successful week's worth of events. And how could they not make money when they were charging the ever-living shit out of people for every possible thing? I'm telling you, I was there. I'm talking from experience. And while we had a great time, did you
hit the slots?
I played. We went into one casino, lost that. Like, I'm out. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna keep doing it. But we had a good time, but we simply could not afford to do every single thing that we wanted to do because they priced the shit out of everything. As long as it's not in Saudi Arabia, I guess I don't really care. But if you had to pick, Q, aside from Detroit, because that's obviously, bring the shit here. Let's do it in Detroit, aside from Ford Field, if you were going to relocate WrestleMania 42, where would you put it?
I could see it going. I could see it either going to New York, somewhere in New York. They can probably hit MetLife, or I could see them going West Coast, hitting the LA market. But I can also see them hitting Florida. But here's my fear with them canceling that. Now, this whole WrestleMania thing, if anybody don't know how these cities pretty much get WrestleManias, it's on a bidding system. These cities are bidding for this event. This event has gotten so big, just like the Super Bowl. They bid for this event now. And my fear with this cancellation, if we don't hear an announcement soon of a relocation, then I can honestly see Saudi Arabia coming in and swiping up. That Royal Rumble thing was a test. They started off with the crown jewels, the pay-per-views that were pretty much made for that country, and they are now testing other pay-per-views. They did the King and Queen of the Ring over there the last year. Now they got the Royal Rumble, which, I don't know how hard the backlash was. I didn't follow the backlash part of it, but if the WWE handled the backlash for that, money talks, and I can see Saudi Arabia swooping in, and they made it known that they want a WrestleMania. They made it known 2 years ago. They said, we want a WrestleMania to come here. And they gave them Crown Jewel. They want WrestleMania. That's my fear. If we don't hear an announcement soon for a relocation, it's going to be in Saudi Arabia.
I don't want. I could see MetLife Stadium as a viable option in New York, but that's where SummerSlam is going to be this year, and it's the first time SummerSlam is going 2 nights. So I don't see them as a front runner to host a 2-night WrestleMania so soon after a SummerSlam. I recall not all that long ago, a couple of months ago, I think it was, Triple H, Nick Khan had come back from London, and they had been over there to talk about a series of potential events. And this was right around the time AEW was running All In at Wembley Stadium. Wembley Stadium was a WWE stadium first with SummerSlam 92. And, they drew 80,000 people to that show. 80,000 invested people went to that show. The AEW, you had 30,000 invested fans and then 50,000 casual fans that were just there for a wrestling show. They didn't give a shit what company, who was on the card. It was a wrestling show. They put the words pay-per-view on the poster. That's what sold the show. That's why they wanted to be there. With the expansion that WWE is undergoing globally, putting WrestleMania at Wembley Stadium, I could see that being a thing to really reestablish their foot in that one of the most iconic venues in the world, especially in that part of the world. Wembley Stadium is iconic. Putting WrestleMania in there, I see that happening. Putting it in back at Skydome, I could see that happening, although they just had the Elimination Chamber in February or March. I really do see Vegas being the front runner. I see Vegas saw what kind of success that they could have. A lot of that was trial and error, like the roast of WrestleMania and all this shit. What sold, what did not. I totally, and Brian and I were talking about this at work last night. You know, he is worried that they could be setting up a residency for WrestleMania in Las Vegas. Like, that's where it will be held every year, is at Allegiant Stadium. I don't know if they're going to go that route. I could see it. I mean, like the whole business model from within WWE has kind of changed now with, you know, this new regime. So who the hell knows, really? I mean, and you're right. At this point, money talks. So it could wind up in fucking Riyadh or, you know, wherever. Ugh, it would just break my heart if that was the case.
I would hate that. The one thing about WrestleMania is we're also going to see WrestleMania is going to be not only it would be awesome if it was I don't see here's the thing. WrestleMania has become so big that WWE is going to try to market it on its own. Not only, you know, as far as venues, but I can honestly see, just like I believe MLB is doing that with their World Series. They market just the World Series on an entirely different network. I can see them doing WrestleMania. If you got your whole library on Peacock or Netflix or wherever it's going to be at, and you're getting a whole different deal just for WrestleMania because how big it's gotten. I can see that. You know, WrestleMania is going to be. They want it to be just as or even bigger than the Super Bowl. And if you're a businessman, that's the goal.
Well, I can tell you their ticket prices are pretty goddamn comparable.
Yeah.
It's like I know you and I have had this conversation, and I mean I haven't really talked about it on the air just because I don't like throwing shit out like that, but you know, when it came down to it, to where we were looking at buying tickets for WrestleMania, I had every intention of going to both nights. They just made it to where I could not, unless I wanted to sit behind the stage. That you wouldn't have been able to see the ring. You would have watched the entire show in reverse on their video screen. And while you would have been in the stadium and you would have heard, you know, you would have felt the percussions of the pyro and all that stuff. I'm not, even those seats were $500 a person per night. And it's like, what the fuck are we doing, man? But, and that's one thing about Vince McMahon. He, you can say a lot of things about Vince McMahon, good and bad, a lot of bad, especially nowadays. But the one thing about him is he kept the fans in perspective. He wanted to make money, and he did increase, you know, the prices on a lot of shit, but he did it gradually along with what was trending. It wasn't from here to here. It was gradual.
Right.
It wasn't such a shock to the system. You could plan accordingly. TKO, all they care about is making money, man. They don't give a fuck where it comes from. And you're starting to see WWE right now. They're the preferred flavor in that umbrella because they're making all kinds of money. They're breaking all kinds of records. Take nothing away from UFC. And I'm not taking anything away from UFC, but we talked about this on the Sports Reel podcast earlier this week. So, fanfare, anticipation for UFC has plateaued. There has not been a giant bump, but it hasn't gone down either. It's just plateaued. There hasn't been that holy shit moment. There hasn't been that marquee fight. There hasn't been that must-see fighter or star under their umbrella in quite some time. Conor McGregor maybe the latest example or the most recent example. They don't know. I don't want to say they don't know how to make stars. They don't know how to promote their stars to make me as a casual fan want to buy a UFC pay-per-view or get the subscription to watch their shit. I'm not that invested in it. You're going to have to do something. Right. Meanwhile, you look over on WWE, casual fans are paying attention and buying the pay-per-views or the premium live events. They're going to the arenas. They're buying the merchandise. There's a reason why that's happening. And but at the same time, man, like you've got to remember these are wrestling fans. And generally, wrestling fans are not multimillionaires. You feel me? Let's make this more family friendly. You want to gear UFC to more adult oriented stuff? Absolutely. Absolutely, you should do that. But wrestling has and always will be fueled cyclically by younger demographic, younger fans, to bring them into the fold and ride them for the entire duration of their life. I am 49 years old. I started watching wrestling when I was 7. Long ass time that I've been invested in professional wrestling. And they hooked me, and they have kept me for the whole ride here. You're going to have to do that. So,
they're pricing out families. That's the problem. They're pricing out families because I was looking at the Detroit event that's coming up, and anybody know me? I got a lot of kids. I cannot take myself and all my kids to a wrestling event, when the prices are $200 to $300 a pop, and I'm paying for each. There's no child tickets involved or nothing like that. I mean, it's insane. So, I'm just gonna have to watch it on television. That's why they got these big TV right deals. So I'm just gonna watch it on TV.
That's the downfall right there, Q, of why so much emphasis has been put on the TV rights deals. But at the same time, it's paid off for WWE. They've got $1 billion deal with Netflix right now. And by and large, it has kind of paid itself off. Their numbers for Monday Night Raw have been respectable. Their international pay-per-view numbers, those are a little disappointing. Those kind of dropped off from doing a little bit of research. But the Peacock numbers are as strong as they've ever been. So this is why you're going to continue to see, and they've gone on record, Peacock has, it says we are aggressively trying to extend our working relationship with WWE. And why would you not? Why would you not do that? They will.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're gonna pay them. They're gonna get paid. And WWE is smart. TKO is smart when it comes to this whole thing because they're getting deals from everywhere. You have a speed championship just for what is it? TikTok? Is it TikTok or Twitter?
Yeah.
Twitter. You have a deal with Twitter. You have a deal. Evolve has a deal. LFG has a deal. Then you have to deal with the A&E with all your documentaries. I mean, come on. WWE can get anything on television.
They have this new show that's coming out here on Netflix in the summer that's going to reveal the writer's room in WWE. Have you seen anything about this?
I was talking to Brian about it. I don't like it.
Is it peeling the curtain back too much?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Now, here's the thing. And I was telling Brian, I said, a show like this is okay if you're talking about something in the past.
Yeah.
Like if we're if we're talking about, Monday Night Raw 10 years ago, let's talk about the production of it, or a pay-per-view 10 years ago. Let's talk about how everything went and all the backstage hoo-ha and everything. If you want to talk about that stuff, that's fine. But when I see a commercial of them peeling back the curtain on current storylines, oh man, that I can't buy into that, man. Because now it's just like, what am I watching? What am I watching? Am I watching Cody Rhodes or Cody Runnels? Am I watching The Rock or Dwayne Johnson? Who am I really watching? It's
Right.
the curtain. It's almost like I'm watching an episode of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and I know who everybody is behind the scenes, and I know everything that they're doing. I mean, it's not even interesting anymore, because I know you're not like that for real. I mean, they done already told me that you're not. So I mean, it's almost like they're breaking the immersion. Now, for those who don't know, I'm a travel agent now. I went to the brand new Epic Universe in Florida. It opened up yesterday, but I went last month to be a test dummy. I went down there and I rolled everything, and the way they got things set up is they got things set up in portals, like the Dark Universe, about all the classic monsters. They have a portal that you go through, and you're in Darkmoor, and you get to see Frankenstein, and you get to see all of the classic monsters, but you can't see nothing else outside the portal. So you're totally immersed in that land. I feel like if you take those portals out, you take all the walls down, and you just show me everything before I get in there, and you show me all the behind the scenes stuff, it's going to take my interest away. That's how I feel when I'm sitting down watching a show that I am invested in. I want to see. I want to be entertained without having to be entertained by the behind the scenes stuff. I don't need all that, man. And I know I can complain about it all I want to. I can just not watch. And that's my advice to everybody else. If you don't want to, if you don't like it, just don't watch it. But I think it's just too much. It's too much.
I'm kind of with you on this. I don't need to see how the sausage is made to enjoy the meal. 100%. And there's a part of me that is intrigued, but there's also a part of me that's like, man, a couple of things. One, you're taking away my ability to suspend my disbelief. And two, more importantly and damning, you're giving these toxic members of the IWC more ammunition to spill their bullshit on social media, like they have a clue as to what they're talking about, when in reality they really do not. Well, I saw it on Unreal or whatever the hell they're calling this show. I don't recall off the top of my head. Bro, they showed you what they wanted you to see. And I guess saying that out loud, we have a preconceived notion of what this is going to be. I feel like the final product is going to take you right up to that edge, and then they're going to play back a little bit. So people are going to be talking shit about this show because it's not going as deep as they thought it was going to, based on how it's promoted. And if that's the case, brilliant move by WWE. Paul Levesque, I would imagine, more than anybody. Very calculated. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I am going to at least see. I am going to watch the first episode just to kind of see what this. And if I start getting like, oh, this is getting a little bit too much, then I might actually legitimately turn it off, because I don't need the shit ruined for me any more than it already is. you know. But
Right. See, my fear is like, okay, I'm getting ready to watch Monday Night Raw. I don't know who's going to win between Jey Uso and Gunther. So then Unreal comes on and they say, oh, well, Gunther is planned to win. And don't tell me that. Don't, don't tell me that. Don't ruin it, even though it might take place after the fact, but don't ruin it for me thinking that, okay, maybe this was planned and maybe this happened. And I know they're not going to show the dirt. I know they're going to leave that to the dirt boys, the dirt sheet boys. But if anybody's been following some of the IWC and some of the other stuff that's been going on the internet, people already see that there might be cracks between the relationship of The Rock and Triple H.
right.
So and Triple H, he watches social media too. So he's a smart guy. He might play into that. So when does Unreal becomes Unreal?
Mm-hmm.
And he starts playing into it, like making it look like something that's really not. So it's all with a grain of salt, man.
It's a fine line to play that game because you have the ability to troll these people. Write your content to where it's looking like it's going to go this way, and then you swerve them just for the sake of swerving them. However, if you do that too much, it can and will oftentimes affect the quality of your product. How much is that ha-ha moment worth to you? Is it worth alienating a portion of your fan base in the grand scheme of things? No. Now, the other thing that you mentioned was this speculative tension between Dwayne Johnson and Paul Levesque, not Triple H and The Rock. There's something going on here. There's something.
Yeah.
Now, what these two can do and what they should do is take a personal situation, which is clearly there, put your personal sides or your personal feelings off to the side and make something of this. You are laying the first cornerstone of a foundation of the most compelling storyline since Austin versus McMahon. You have that ability right now. If you want to really put WWE so far in mainstream media, pop culture, the wrestling space, you want to separate it head and shoulders from AEW, from MLW, from NWA, from UFC, from everything else. This is your ticket right here if you do this right. And if you're not sure how to do it, I happen to know a few guys that live in the fine state of Michigan that come on the air every other week to discuss the ins and outs of professional wrestling. They'll be more than happy to navigate your storyline to WrestleMania 42. So,
yeah, and beyond with that, man. Call us up, man. You know what? And to go one even better, the Vince and Austin was a perfect comparison, but also you have to think of people who actually hate each other for real. And I'm thinking kind of like a Sean Brett type situation where the animosity was real, but they made bank off of it.
mm-hmm.
Kind of like what we have today. So some of the best feuds are the ones who are really feuding in real life. And you have the Sean and HBK aspect, but you think today with Seth Rollins and CM Punk, that those two are today's hottest feud. So, I mean, you put Paul Levesque in a room and you put him in a room with Dwayne Johnson and you let them You put a couple writers in there and you let them cook. I'm telling you, the writers can be the fatal four-way. We all cook together. I could grill a mean steak, man. I don't know. We'll get a couple sides up in there. We can make some magic happen with that, man. That would be awesome. They don't even have, and it doesn't. And Dwayne said it himself. Every big feud don't have to culminate into a big match between the two, because we know Paul Levesque is not wrestling.
Right.
But you have the representation of Paul Levesque in somebody's corner, and you have the representation of Dwayne Johnson in somebody's corner. That's all you need. Look who Paul Levesque has in his back pocket. Seth Rollins, who Braun Breaker. These are the NXT kids that Triple H brought up. Who Dwayne Johnson have in his back pocket is the entire bloodline. Come on. I say that's it. Let's move on to the next topic with that one. Drop the mic, man. We got to drop the mic on that one. Whew.
Okay. Calm down, pal.
I got to turn my fan on.
As we start to wind this episode down, we certainly appreciate everybody tuning in here tonight. Be sure to check out our online store at pfcstore.printify.me or our official summer lineup, pfcsummer.printify.me. But before we get out of here tonight, Q, number one, I appreciate you taking time out. I know today was a busy day for you, so I really appreciate this. We thank Sean Grugo for popping in here for a hot minute, and we hope Brian Balf is okay. So, since the last time we were on the air, the wrestling world lost a performer that I've heard the words trailblazer. I have heard the words icon. I have heard the words legend used to describe the one and only Sabu, who passed away since the last time that we were on the air. And, we would be remiss if we didn't, take a moment here and to, share a moment or two from our fandom of watching this guy, because when you talk about the original ECW, if you're going to name the top 5 stars in the history of ECW, Sabu is going to be one of those names that you hear more often than not. I was not a big ECW fan. Like, I was aware of it. I read about it. I saw clips. We did tape trading back in the day, so I was aware of it back then. And I could tell that this guy was something extraordinary, even in the land of Extreme Championship Wrestling, when every match they were seemingly trying to outdo the match before. But for whatever reason, the way Sabu attacked a match stood out. And we have, closer personal ties here in the state of Michigan because, he is part of that bloodline with the original Sheik, Ed Farhad. And, the original Sheik was a staple, a legend here in the Detroit area, trained Rob Van Dam, trained Sabu. So it was a tremendous loss for the wrestling world. And Sabu is one of those guys we know we're human, but there are guys like him that you're like, these are the kind of guys that live forever. So when something like this does happen, it really does put it in perspective. Do you have any favorite Sabu memories, Q?
Absolutely. I remember. Now, I didn't watch too much ECW because it was a little bit too much for me. But I remember the invasion that not the invasion after ECW was purchased, but the invasion back in 96, 97,
Yes,
when
sir.
Sabu, yeah, when Sabu, he jumped off the Raw stage, I believe. Was it the Raw set? I think he jumped off. Um, but I was a big fan of Sabu. Sabu was probably one of my number one or number two guys that I always wanted to watch. Even I would go back and watch a lot of his matches. A match that really stands out to me. He had great matches with the likes of Chris Benoit. He had great matches um, with with RVD, and they even had a run at as tag team champions. Um, but when I seen Sabu on my television in a one-on-one match against John Cena of all people on the ECW brand in I believe 2006. It was like watching that was like two worlds collide for me. That was like worlds collide back in my home. Seeing a favorite of mine from ECW and John Cena, who was the champ. I mean, spinning belt champion John Cena, when he was at his pretty much going into Super Cena mode, his peak. Seeing them on television wrestling each other and Sabu doing the Arabian Buster on him, and going through the table and everything, I was like, oh my God, what am I watching? I thought that was awesome. Sabu was something else. He was definitely an icon, and he went out doing what he loved to do. And people will criticize saying, maybe he shouldn't have been in the retirement match, or, he didn't even call it a retirement match. He called it his last match. He did an interview after that match. And when you listen to him in that interview, he sounded like he was, kind of out of it a little bit. But yeah, Sabu, absolute icon. He will be remembered. Great representation of Michigan. A lot of people actually didn't know that he was from Michigan.
Yeah. Well, he is going to be remembered. He is going to be talked about for generations to come. You're going to see clips of him, for the rest of time. He really did make his mark, and he's done his uncle proud. The original Sheik. Anybody that's worked with him, I was listening to Something to Wrestle with John Layfield and Conrad Thompson, and they were relaying a story where Sabu, after a show, I think it was an indie show of some sort, he was riding with a couple of younger talent, rookies, if you will, and they didn't. I guess the promoter kind of stiffed them. Sabu made sure that those kids ate a hot meal and had a room for the night that he paid for himself. That's not a side of Sabu that we saw or heard on television. So you could tell, he was genuinely a good guy. Like when I heard that story, and it's not like it's from somebody who, doesn't know what they're talking about. It was John Bradshaw Layfield. He's not a bullshitter. You can say anything you want about John Layfield, but the one thing you can't say about him is he's a bullshitter. And to hear that story, I'm like, man, that's a guy who got it. And if he hadn't had the right training with the right principles instilled in him, that wouldn't have been a thing. So, my appreciation for him, because I'm not a hardcore wrestling guy, but I recognize and I respect what it is. You know what I mean? But to hear that put my respect for the man behind Sabu on a completely different level. So I can appreciate that. With that, we appreciate everybody tuning in here this week, and we will be back live on the air on ON TV in 2 weeks' time, 2 weeks from tonight. as we will continue to break down the news and the headlines in and around the world of professional wrestling. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, or anything of the sort, you can hit us up over on the Facebook page. Look for the Fatal 4-Way or the PFC Entertainment Network, or you can go to pfcnetwork.net, the official website for the Pure Fury Creations Entertainment Network. For Quad L. Edwards, I'm Jason Klaus. Go out, be awesome to yourselves and to each other, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time on the Fatal 4-Way as a part of the PFC Entertainment Network.